Hi. Okay, we're on chapter 29. Timtum Halev, the dullness of the heart. If a wooden beam does not catch fire, smash it. If the body does not shine with the light of the soul, break the arrogance of the animal soul by reviewing its deficiencies. I cannot tell you how critical this chapter is. It is like a homeopathic remedy. It is a chiropractic alignment for your soul. I liken it to actually a vitamin C pill to help prevent the common cold. Well, the service that is going to be described in this chapter helps you understand what you need to do to be taking preventative measures so that you won't get the common timtum halev, the hardening of the heart, cold of the soul. Let me tell you from my own private experiences, before learning Hasidus and especially the teachings of the Tanya, I just would have these bouts of kind of stone-heartedness and didn't understand why it could be so different. One day's davening and learning, and all of a sudden out of nowhere feeling so opposite. So I hope this helps you as it did help me and everything else here in Tanya. So but before we go into detail, I'd just like to tell you that some of this stuff that we're going to describe here from Tanya will, first of all, help you have an awareness of why you can get this way, and use it when you're in this kind of very icky situation, and also give you the wherewithal to prevent it. But generally speaking, this generation, we are taught by the Rebbe that the generation is a generation where we can reach new heights with tshuva ila'ah, meaning what once was done with rolling in the snow, fasting, bitterness, and crying and tears of sadness of trying to do tshuva. This generation, we can just go straight to the gold, as they say, and reach new heights with a higher level tshuva, which is tshuva ila'ah, which is a tshuva with happiness, with joy, and with broad-mindedness, with learning more, and praying in a deeper way, or giving charity. So I want you to have this in mind. As the Rebbe teaches us, we learned this from David HaMelech even way back then. If you look at his Tehillim, David HaMelech would say 5 sentences worth of kind of heavy-hearted sentences in his Tehillim, and then jump into sentences of joy and happiness. So the Rebbe gives us the instruction that in this generation we can follow David's lead, and just maybe if you're going to do some heavy-hearted tshuva, 5 sentences worth, really that quick, that short, and just jump into God forgives me, and I'm gonna use this as a springboard, and I'm so happy, this is gonna help me get to the next level, and switch it, have a major paradigm shift in your head. So in the next chance you have that you find yourself heavy-hearted, this is what you're gonna do. So this timtum halev, the hardening of our heart, is something that happens even to a Beinoni, and he has to contend with this in and out of his life, and it's a fact. And there's many reasons for this. One reason, it could be that his previous tshuva was maybe not really good enough, maybe not sincere enough, and so the sin kind of became like a veil blocking God's light, and so then the heart becomes insensitive. Or maybe because he has reached a newer level, as I call like a PhD level soul, and his tshuva that was accepted maybe a year ago or even 2 years ago, but since he had reached such a higher level of stature, maybe going from like a kindergarten level soul, having reached a PhD level soul, that his tshuva needs to be redone, as it were. So the heavy-heartedness, the blockage, is not that necessarily God's mad at him and like blocking him. It's just that God is kind of doing us a favor and helping us realize we can now reach new heights in our tshuva. And God is giving us a chance by taking away the sensation to motivate us to get to the next level. So it's really a divine favor. I mean, this is like completely a compliment to Hashem. He's saying, you reached a new level now. I want to help you by kind of clogging you up a bit, so you'll be moved to making that greater effort to get to that next level. So the suggestion is that one, which is likened to a log. Let's say a person wants to have a campfire, and he has this like huge log, but then there's a very little fire, and so the fire won't catch on to the big log. And what happens is the person has to splinter off this huge log, put a little bit of the splinters in the little fire, and then as the fire grows, they'll put another part of the log, and eventually, slowly but surely, the whole log will be consumed and the fire will grow. So in our Avodas Hashem, when we're trying to get rid of our blockages, our character traits, we can't expect that all of our traits will be melted away by our tshuva. So we focus on the main dominant weakness that we have, and we focus on that. And in the meantime, we try to raise the fire of our soul. As the Rebbe Roshav in Kuntres Avodah says, if you notice how the angels are serving Hashem with fire, and you just pay attention to this idea of the more you act like the angels and upgrade your fire in your service of prayer, that's going to help the holy fire get rid of the unholy fire of your negative character traits. And actually in the Gemara it says that there's a pasuk, Esh ochelet Esh, that when you upgrade your holy fire, then it will eat up the unholy fire, which happens to be another name for the Shekhinah. So this way, we don't have to work as hard. We just have to make that fire grow in our davening, and the fire will do the work. So the Alter Rebbe in this chapter is also going to talk about different things, different ideas, different methods, as you were, to help us break this arrogant, negative energy within us that's causing this stone-heartedness. One idea is to think of your dreams. And the reason why is because the dreams will show you where your spiritual standing is. Because if you have a high standing, then your soul goes into the higher worlds, and then these kind of nightmares won't plague you. So when you look at your dreams and you see it's a lot of patchwork, then you come to understand that, yeah, I have work to do, and it'll humble you. And I've given this as a remedy for many people who have night terrors, to really do a little more learning before going to sleep, a little davening of the Shema al Amitah when you go to sleep, as we will go more into detail about that. So why do I call this nighttime Shema the vitamin C against Timtum Halev? Because every night you will rectify and get rid of these klipas of your day when you do Cheshbon HaNefesh, when you take the time to do an accounting of your soul, so that there would be no barriers. Because what happens is, if you don't, day after day, you sin. It's a fact. We're not tzaddikim. Day after day, you might be even indulgent and in certain behaviors. So each day, layers and layers of these klipas accumulate on your heart, and then all of a sudden, it just gets so thick, then you end up getting Timtum Halev. But if you nightly get rid of these barriers, then you're protecting yourself so that you won't all of a sudden get this big block. And just like people who are proactive in keeping their health will take vitamin C and eat foods full of vitamin C to protect them against any kind of virus. Well, this is the spiritual virus that we're trying to prevent. Yep, it surely will help. So the other ideas that the Tanya teaches us to think about to humble our spirit is the fact that we lust after things, and the fact that we can pray and right after lose that spiritual inspiration and behave contrary to what we felt in prayer. So all these things that we contemplate on will help us humble ourselves and will help the klipa be broken. As we said earlier, when we look at the sins of our youth and we see that how we used to behave, then that also can humble our spirit and then cause us to redo the tshuva that we once did. And this too will help us clear our blockages. And if we do this regularly, it will be a preventative medicine. It's interesting, the other method that the Alter Rebbe talks about in this chapter is that we should use the remedy of rage, that we should rage against our Yetzer Hara and thunder against it and say, how dare you trick me, I hate you Yetzer Hara that doesn't see the truth, and so forth. And this also has the power to nullify that barrier on our heart. The story is given of the period of time when Moshe Rabbeinu was in the desert with the Jewish people, and when they were sending out the spies, and the Jewish people were just so scared and said, "Oh no, the giants are greater than God," as it were, and they just lost their belief in God. I mean, who could lose their belief after all the miracles? But they became heavy-hearted, and they had Timtum Halev, and they didn't feel, free to connect to what they knew. And so then Moshe Rabbeinu told the Jewish people how angry God was at them, and all of a sudden they became again the believers, sons of believers, and they were ready now to go into the land. And so the Tanya asks, what happened here? Moshe didn't show them any miracles. How could they have done such a turnaround? And the Alter Rebbe actually brings out that it was the fact that God got angry at them that it broke the klipas and humbled them. So from here we learned that we could crumble our klipas by internally raging against it. It's kind of like fight fire with fire. And then we will be able to humble our heart and be free and not feel the Timtum Halev.